The following program contains scenes and language of a frank and explicit nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Filmjitsu, the podcast that wields films like deadly weapons. We are your hosts. I am Mike.
And I am Jay.
And Jay, I hope that you're wearing pants this week because we have company.
Oh, shit.
On this week's episode of Filmjitsu, we have the hosts of the Tripp Through Comedy podcast, Mr. Tripp Burton and Ross Bratin. Fellas, thanks for joining us on the show.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting us.
Yes, thank you.
And putting us through this.
Yeah, well, the backstory is that I blindsided you with this because you were kind enough to have me on your show a while back. I think it was for your episode on Rob Schneider's The Animal, which I cannot believe we haven't covered on this bad movie podcast of ours.
A movie Mike chose to watch for that podcast.
I did, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
you got to know what you're good at. So at the end of that episode, I unveiled to you that we would like to have you on the show specifically to watch today's film, 1990s Frankenhooker, directed by Frank Henenlotter.
Yeah.
So on this week's episode of the show, we are going to discuss Frankenhooker, one of my absolute favorite examples of indie trash cinema. We're going to do our bottom 5 girlfriends, and we'll see what else happens along the way. But before we get into all that, Jay, let's go ahead and roll the trailer for Frankenhooker.
In 1931, the world was horrified by the motion picture Frankenstein. In 1935, horror turned to terror with The Bride of Frankenstein. In 1990, the makers of Basket Case and Brain Damage bring you...
Want a date?
Frankenhooker. Jeffrey Franken has a plan.
I just want to bring her back, Elizabeth.
He has the ingenuity.
I need female body parts.
He has everything he needs, except the raw materials.
Just hold still.
Jeffrey's creation is alive.
Looking for some action?
Oh, yeah.
She's sexy.
Want a date? You going out?
I'm on my way home, but thanks anyway.
And she's sutured to please.
Listen, I'm looking for a very tall, attractive woman. She's purple. She's got fresh scars on her. She's in the bar.
Frankenhooker.
Incredible.
Some assembly may be required.
Gentlemen, I will confess that my main motivation for choosing this film was so that Tripp Burton had to watch Frankenhooker. I think it's maybe important for our listeners that you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your show, what your show is, why it's designed the way it is, and why picking Frankenhooker for Tripp is exactly the right kind of wrong to do.
Yeah, so our show revolves around the idea that I, Tripp, am something of a recovering film snob, I guess you would call, still a film snob, but that for a long period of time, particularly, the 2000s, I sort of avoided mainstream comedy films. So I have all of these blind spots that I've never seen. So every week Ross makes me watch one of these movies that I've avoided, for the time being, and we discuss whether I was smartly avoided them or if I have found some sort of discovery. So I tend to lean towards the snobbishness of the film loving side, and trash cinema is not something that I normally go for.
Yeah, safe to say Frankenhooker was a blind spot for you.
Yes, I knew nothing about this movie before we started this.
Did you know it existed?
I feel like I recognized the name. I feel like if you've heard the title, you know that it's out there. But I had no idea who the director was when Mike brought it up to me. So
have you seen anything else by Frank Henenlotter?
No, I have
No.
not
Oh,
seen
okay.
anything
Wow.
else.
All right.
Yes, this is really a first time for me.
Man, just throwing him in the deep end, and I appreciate that as a person who's had to make Tripp watch. Unfortunate. There's a lot of very good stuff, and I've been pleasantly surprised sometimes by Tripp liking certain movies that I didn't necessarily think he would be. But when Mike came on our show and said, he actually told me beforehand, it was like, here's what I plan on giving you. Do you think Tripp will like this? And it wasn't fully expressed through text, but it was just me laughing.
Perhaps we should just quickly set it up for the listening audience who, like you, Tripp, probably doesn't know all that much about Frankenhooker. Then again, they are Filmjitsu listeners.
The title tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it? Like,
I mean, in a way, I suppose it could, but I think that there's a lot of things that you would expect out of a movie called Frankenhooker that you don't get, and instead you get a whole lot of other stuff. So the gist of it basically is, in the shortest possible capsule summary that I can offer, inventor Jeffrey loses his fiancée in a freak lawnmower accident, then rebuilds her using parts from New York sex workers. That is the film, right?
Yeah, it's also the title. It's Frankenhooker. You got it. You got it.
All right, fair enough.
Right.
What we didn't mention was all of the meth and the explosions and the gore and the nudity and all that. But I guess Frankenhooker might sum that up as well. So
I will say, for a movie called Frankenhooker, and we are talking about the sexploitation part of this, it is a movie in which not a lot of actual sex happens.
Right? No. Is there any?
There's one scene.
Right.
It is a movie that is surprisingly, you have a main character who spends most of this time almost wholly uninterested in certain ways in that regard, and is so focused on trying to rebuild the love of his life, and going very poorly for most of it. And shockingly, a side hustle of being a doctor is not necessarily going to lead to the best results.
Yes, the lead character, Jeffrey Franken, works at the electric company, but his side hustle is being a doctor, evidently. I think early on it's cited that he stomach stapled his wife casually. She mentions this to her friend whose eyes bug out of her head, going, "You let him do surgery on you?" And she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna be married."
Well, and he also has a giant brain with an eyeball in a fish tank that he seems to take around to places with him, and no one really gives him the time of day. Like, oh, there's Jeffrey and his
Nobody's bothered by it. It's not particularly weird. My favorite joke in that moment at the beginning of the film is he's inside a kitchen where there's a cookout going on, people coming in and out of the kitchen, and his mother-in-law wants him to grab the ketchup, which is just nested in a bunch of wires that are connected to the brain in the tank. And he just sort of reaches in, like, why the ketchup's there, who knows, but it's just there. He reaches in, gives it to her. Great moment, super funny, sets the tone for the thing right away. It's ludicrous. The whole thing is just absurd.
It's 100% ludicrous, and it's like you got to be along for the ride. That is like all of the insanity. Sure, we're gonna have a main character drill into his brain in order to like help him think, and
stimulate his thoughts.
Stimulate his thoughts. Like that's okay. I have seen this movie before. I think it was just like a random watch, and I had kind of heard of it, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. But if you want to know the exact encapsulation of the type of humor this movie is, it's a small moment. There's a moment where they have the news segment of like what's happened, and they show what looks like an older cop, and the whole point is that she had been dismembered, like horrifically dismembered. Body parts are supposedly everywhere, and there's a moment where the camera catches this cop, and you can tell that he is clearly counting to determine whether there's enough body parts, and then he loses count and then thinks that there's one missing or something, and he's just kind of like, this is the kind of like Keystone Cops level of like silliness in this.
And then the newscaster refers to it as a salad, once called Elizabeth. Like, it just...
That segment with the newscaster is one of my favorite segments in any movie period.
Like wood through a mulcher, the girthful fiancée disappeared beneath the blades of the berserk mower that sent her personality raining down upon the horrified birthday revelers. In a blaze of blood, bones, and body parts, the vivacious young girl was instantly reduced to a tossed human salad, a salad that police are still trying to gather up, a salad that was once named Elizabeth.
And it really does set the table for what kind of movie we're getting. It tells us that we are watching a comedy. This isn't a horror movie. I think you see the Frankenhooker and you imagine it's going to be some sort of like exploitation horror. It isn't. Mm-hmm. It's this sort of gonzo horror comedy. Mm-hmm. Heads explode with the same kind of comedic timing as a pie in the face. It's never supposed to be titillating. In fact, Ross kind of alluded to it. Jeffrey is almost sort of like blind to the fact that there are naked women all over the place. Like he's trying to put his girlfriend back together with the available parts. It's very like academic for him, almost to the point where he's annoyed by everyone around him not taking things as seriously as he does. It wants to kind of like comment about our obsession with sex and drugs and instant gratification, but it's not interested in saying anything. And that's what makes it so great. Like it's not taking itself seriously, but it's taking its premise so seriously that the comedy works all the time.
I don't know if I'll say all the time. I enjoyed this movie much more than I thought I was. And part of that was because, like you said, it never takes itself seriously. Like if you had sort of tried to throw at me the more serious horror version of this, I think I really would have sort of stepped back. I think about the first half of the movie, I was really on its wavelength. Because it almost has a feeling. The movie I kept thinking of was Eating Raoul, the Paul Bartel movie, because it has a similar vibe. It has this very like 80s New York underground, independent, and like I'm a big theater person, and I was thinking of like what Harvey Fierstein was doing, around that time, and the gay sort of underground theater stuff that was happening that felt very similar to this. And so like I was really on sort of that wavelength. Once we start getting into the explosions, which are so obviously just mannequins flying apart, and it's not my thing, but this movie is definitely made with much more care than I ever would have expected.
They knew that when the mannequins explode that it was going to look ridiculous, but I love the fact that the actresses move into position and then there's a jump cut to the mannequins that are in that same position and they're just exploding and there's no gore. They just explode like plastic. Well, there's the sound of fireworks layered in the background.
Although I did have to question, if your idea is to kill these women so you can use their body parts to sew them together, I don't know if having them blow up is the best way to ensure that you have the body parts, but
I don't know that he necessarily knew that they were going to explode. I feel as though he was a little surprised by the way that things played out.
And he was very aggravated when they got into his stash of like cooked drugs, and they all went crazy and then they all started exploding. He was like, wait a minute, I wasn't planning on exploding all these hookers, right? I think the Tripp brings up a really important point, because I think it's important to remember the cinematic moment that we were in when this movie came out in 1990. Like big studio horror was getting glossy and respectable, right? Like films like Misery and Silence of the Lambs are kind of where horror was in the studio system. Meanwhile, like 80s franchises like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th had pretty much like run their course, right? They were well past their prime, but the VHS boom was alive and well, and the market still had a demand for this horror, right? And these like cult titles. And so like on the edges of the film industry, there are filmmakers like Frank Henenlotter or Peter Jackson that are making films like Dead Alive and Reanimator and Frankenhooker. And like, sure, Silence of the Lambs was earning Oscars from the Academy, but in the meantime, movies like these were kind of keeping this like punk rock exploitation horror scene for the Midnight Madness crowd alive and well. So it was almost like the perfect time for something like this to exist.
The horror movies were absolutely like a backbone for a lot of these video stores because they were the perfect thing that people were just renting constantly. And it is this kind of feeling of like there's something so DIY about it. There's nobody in here that's like anywhere like known to most people probably. And it's a perfect thing of like you suck people in by, as we've already said on this episode, here's a movie called Frankenhooker, and it's got that VHS box that has her on the cover, kind of looking shocked and got like, you can kind of see the purple outfit. And it's like, if you are a like 15-year-old boy, you're like going around, you're like, wait, hold on, what's that?
What's
like,
that
and you're
one?
immediately grabbing that VHS and you're going in there. And the trick is that you're going to go on like with that and realize that you're getting a kind of a different movie.
You still do get a lot of boobs, though. I mean, we should say that.
That is correct.
Yes,
that is correct. Yes.
Yeah. Santa would have it no other way.
Absolutely. I mean, this movie, while capturing a little bit of that 42nd Street vibe of the 80s, it is much better in terms of lighting, production, camera movement, etc. And I gotta give it to Henenlotter, who with his third movie had really stepped up in terms of production value from what he originally did with Basket Case, which might be the dirtiest, grimiest, grossest thing this side of like a Rob Zombie bathroom. You know what I mean? It's like it is a nasty, nasty little movie.
If you look at those 80s New York movies, and especially when they're, kind of more independent, you get the grime, you get the kind of danger that New York was. And at the same token, it is still a cultural hub for so many things in the artistic world and everything. And that's why all of these filmmakers and all this stuff are there because that's where it was. It's that contrast of the suburbs, right? And then the danger of the city.
And the danger. He calls it a smorgasbord. He's driving through the combat zone and he's going, it's a buffet.
Oh, look at all these. I could just go on this block or this block or this block. Every block, by the way, looks the same.
How much do you think was really written by Henenlotter and Robert Martin, Bob Martin, who, by the way, used to be the editor of Fangoria magazine during its heyday? He was co-writer on this thing. It was Henenlotter's fairly fleshed out story. But Bob Martin, I guess, like wrote the actual screenplay. To me, I feel like James Lawrence, the guy that plays Jeffrey, I feel like he wrote most of the dialogue that he utters. I mean, it seems like it's just constant improvisation.
It's easy to kind of lose how good he is in this role with that like thick accent, but he's got this like dry wit and this almost like I think he's really, really funny in the movie. And I agree with you, Jay. A lot of that, it's almost like he's talking to himself at points.
Constantly.
He's constantly talking to himself as a character. But I do think that a lot of that was just him riffing, and it works. It really worked for me.
Does it work for both of you guys? Tripp, does it work for you?
It didn't work for me. No, I was annoyed by his performance a lot of the time. He almost seemed to like suck the energy out of everything that was going on around him. But I mean, this movie, you do not go to a movie like this for
acting.
the acting prowess of it, right? Which is, it's not like we have, an all-star cast here. But,
Lawrence reminded me of like Andrew McCarthy. But without sleeping for a week. I thought Lawrence was actually much funnier than Andrew McCarthy maybe ever was. I would watch Frankenhooker over Mannequin any day of the week. So.
I think for me, I just appreciated the choice that he made to just be the straight man in a movie where everything else is so crazy. Like we don't ever really get that big, like it's alive moment. Like he doesn't play the mad scientist. Yeah. If anything, he just like he sort of plays the aggravated scientist.
What are you talking about? What are you, some kind of a Swede? You're talking to me in Swedish in Times Square. Elizabeth!
This movie, to me, it was almost like the sleaziest version of Pee-wee's Big Adventure that I could have asked for. Like it had a very like glossy, plasticky Pee-wee vibe.
this movie is a New Jersey guy going into New York City in order to basically bring back the body parts that he needs.
Which we then accomplish with 28 minutes left in the film.
Mhm.
I think that's a neat part. Like the titular Frankenhooker isn't assembled until we got a half an hour left in the movie before Patty Mullins comes out with, want a date and doing all of that before we get that big Patty Mullins performance that I know Jason loves.
Tripp, I'm most interested in what you're going to say, so I'm going to step back.
No, I mean, I don't know if Patty Mullen is a good actress or not. She made me laugh a lot, though, with just the facial expressions and the way that she just
the time
went for it, right? And
comedic timing.
And the ability for someone who, I'm looking up all these Wikipedia entries for all these actors after the movie,
Sure.
They are all either like penthouse pets of the month or like Hall of Fame porn actresses, right? And so like I have to give her credit for the way that she's able to just like, hey, I don't care to look ridiculous, right? Which most women in these sorts of movies do not always want to, play the comedy. And I thought she was very, very funny with the grunting and the lines of dialogue from earlier in the movie. And just that face, right? The contortion of the lips is so funny.
You can't teach timing. You can't teach charisma. You can't teach what is on display from Patty Mullen in this movie. You can't. She was a penthouse pet. She did 2 movies. That's it. And this is really the only thing that she quote unquote starred in. And she's really not in it all that much. That sequence where she's running through town, you have about a 12-minute short film within this movie that is pure comic gold to me, on the level of we're talking the same league as like Kathleen Turner and Serial Mom. We're talking Madeline Kahn and Clue. I'm talking about Catherine Hahn in Bad Moms, like that level of absolutely on point humor when the stereotypical Asian guys are snapping photographs and she's getting hit by the flashes.
Yeah, it's such good physical comedy.
Yeah.
And her ability to just pull them off just like that, those crazy facial expressions, and then to be able to recite those lines the way she does.
Ross and I watch a lot of movies with buxom blondes who were put in the movie for, because we'll just assume that they'll be funny, and they're not. Right? That who are cast for looks first and that second.
Right.
And so that is what really, really stood out, because we've seen the bad version of this.
Look at any Andy Sedaris movie, literally any Andy Sedaris movie. No one can act. They're all buxom. They've all got big boobs and they're tan and they're whatever. No one has any charisma. Patty Mullen looks insane in this movie because she's covered in makeup. I think she's one of the most attractive humans ever put on celluloid, despite all of that makeup and everything, because of the charisma.
I mean, just compare her to the other women in this movie, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, and pretty famously, I mean, that's the story behind the production of this film, is that Henenlotter was trying to use SAG actresses, but the actresses that were coming didn't want to do nudity. Or as Frank said, weren't the kind of people that you would want to see nude. Frank, always a classy guy. And so what he did instead was he went to a strip club and found women that would take their clothes off for the movie, brought them in the film, and then got them into the guild, right? So like a bunch of these women were strippers that ended up in the SAG because they were in this movie, which is like, that is like classic punk rock filmmaking right there. Is like, if you can't find the actresses to play the strippers, then you find the strippers and turn them into actresses. And that's what Frank did. And Patty Mullen was just, the lead actress working with all of these non-professionals.
Holy shit, girls, it's Jones! Super Jones! A whole shitload of Jones!
This is the kind of film that just begs to be discovered on VHS. So one of the initial VHS releases of this movie, the case had a button that like if you pressed it, if you squeezed the VHS case, Patty Mullen's voice would say, "Want a date?"
Yes.
Right.
Oh
and
my God.
the video stores hated them because they just wouldn't stop going off. So it was just want a date, want a date, want a they wouldn't stop. But now they're hard to find. I looked just before we started recording today. You can find working copies of these VHS on eBay for $500+. Yeah, to find these things.
I was saying, good birthday gift for me, Mike. But no,
I know. That was my first thought. It was my first thought.
As a birthday gift.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we're gonna start up a GoFundMe for Jay's Frankenhooker fix.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh man, she is great. I also like to believe, by the way, Mike, as to you're saying this, I hope that all of them are still SAG members and voting in every SAG after awards. Like every year we're getting like, like they're getting screeners. They're like, all right, well, I really think Timothée Chalamet was like very good in Complete and Unknown or something. But yeah, I have to agree with all of you. I am stunned that she didn't really do much after this, just because of the fact that you look at the physical comedy, which is not easy to do. It is not something that you could just try to kind of get it out of somebody who doesn't have that stuff. She has it. She has the timing down. She has the ability to do this. And I don't know, maybe she didn't want to, maybe it just, Hollywood and the movie business is a very tough thing. And especially trying to break out when you're doing smaller movies like this and then trying to go into kind of more mainstream Hollywood, right? And I don't know if that's just what ended up happening or she decided, hey, look, I'm good. Like I've got other things. I mean, I just even pulled up her Wikipedia. It really almost has nothing on it. Like it's literally just like one paragraph, and it's like, all right, well, that's it. Yeah. I mean, James Lorraine has gone on to do many other things,
shows and stuff like that.
And been in a Bridge of Spies and The Irishman. Like he's working with like legitimate, like huge directors here.
I can't help but think when I was last on A Tripp Through Comedy, we were talking about The Animal with Rob Schneider. And one of our big complaints about that movie is that Rob Schneider, as a well-known comedian, had almost no ability to portray physical comedy on screen. He had no ability to access any kind of physicality in portraying all of these different animals that he did. And that was a real failing of that movie. And here we have Patty Mullen, who is this sort of wonderful physical comedian. And I was like, man, wouldn't it have been great if instead of a Rob Schneider movie, we had Patty Mullen in The Animal? I'd have watched that. I would watch Patty Mullen turn into an animal lady.
I wanted to see Patty Mullen as Ace Ventura. Like that's what I wanted. There's a timeline where she had Jim Carrey's career. And I'm like, please,
I
God,
love
like
that.
I want
I
that
love
timeline.
that.
I want to be there.
Or just playing off Jim Carrey. Like that's the other thing is
that would be
wonder
cool, too.
if you put her in a movie because, we did talk about James's performance, which I think he's also meant to be this guy who's in mourning, who's not paying attention. So it kind of drains this kind of like certain things from it. But imagine her in this physical comedy playing off another physical comedian, and you have this sort of dynamic. Yeah. I think it would be really fascinating to have seen. And so, like putting her, look, Jim Carrey in 1990 is not Jim Carrey from 4 years later. Like Jim Carrey could have been in a movie like this. I mean, he's doing Once
Jim
Bitten.
Carrey was in Once Bitten. I was just going to say another one of my favorites, by the way. I'm just going to put it out there. Oh man, somewhere there's a world where young Jim Carrey and Patty Mullen made a flick together in like 1991 and all was right with the world. We all learned like how to travel interplanetary dimensional travel and we're all happy in that timeline instead of the shithole that we're in now. But hey, we got Frankenhooker and
there we go.
And most importantly, Tripp Burton got Frankenhooker. And so I think as we wrap up this part of the conversation, I guess I want to know, like, Tripp, what have you learned here? Where did you come out on Frankenhooker? Are you more open to this kind of exploitation horror comedy? Is there a world in which you ever watch another Frank Henenlotter movie?
I don't know. When Jason started describing them as like grittier and more disgusting, I'm not sure if if that makes me want to. I was surprised at how well this was made. Like this definitely had sort of a clear authorial voice, which I think film snobs like myself tend to think like, oh, they're just schlock, right? They're just no one's really caring, and that there was a lot in here. And I don't know if I'm gonna go, check out a whole bunch more of his work, but I might be open to it. It definitely. I'm somewhere in the middle.
I take it.
I take it.
That's
Yeah,
good.
I mean, I'm running with it.
Yes.
I'm interested in knowing what you thought of, or what everybody really thinks of the ending, because to me, that is not an ending that comes from a filmmaker that isn't very aware of the male gaze, that isn't very aware of feminist film theory.
Mm-hmm.
He knows trash cinema.
Yep.
He delivers trash cinema in a way. We've talked about how there's a lack of true titillation in the film. And then he delivers this ending where the protagonist is sort of exposed as a bit of a perv for what he did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
he's
Yeah,
kind of.
I think that he's mocking the male gaze through a lot of the movie. I mean, because it's hilarious to say there's no male gaze, right? In a movie where literally there's a scene of just a giant magnifying glass in front of a nipple. Like
and he's pressing it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's really making fun of the male gaze through so much of the movie. And I think to your point, Jay, he kind of nails that home at the end with this final scene of our protagonist now in a female body strapped to a table, and like things have reversed, and all of a sudden he's like, wait a second, this isn't what I had in mind at all, right?
Yeah, it's earlier on when he is talking to the dismembered head of Patty Mullen, he's showing her like mock-ups, and it's all clearly cutouts from like Penthouse,
yeah,
or Playboy, and putting her head on there. And while we've said like there is this clinical element to what he's doing, like at the end of the day, like he's also not that upset about the idea of like, well, maybe we'll make some augmentations, right?
Yeah, right.
Maybe we'll just kind of, why not, right? Because if I have the opportunity, let's give her quote unquote the perfect body.
Right.
Honey Pie, can't you imagine yourself in this body kneeling on mom's couch in the basement?
When she finally wakes up fully, right? And it's her. Yeah. And it is this like shocking thing of her being like, wait a moment, this isn't
my body.
This isn't my body. This is not how I look. This is
what did you do?
It's kind of like the ending of Freaks, right? It's the idea of like Todd Brown. It's the punchline kind of idea. Yeah. Because there is a question of like, is it better for her to be alive like this? Or is it better for him to have just let her rest in peace?
Rest in pieces.
Pieces. Yeah. Which is always the Frankenstein idea, right? Is it better to, kind of bring somebody back, or is it you just gotta have to move on and accept death as being a part of it?
Had you told me before this movie that it's going to end with his head on a naked female body, it would have tainted this whole movie for me, right? Because I was because this is probably the best version you can do of this ending, right?
Yeah,
because
correct. Yes.
There are a million ways that this ending becomes, so insulting. And I think of like a movie I love, which is A Mighty Wind, which ends with like the trans joke at the end that just brings everything down, right? And so I don't know if that ending is completely earned. I would have liked a little bit more, right? I don't.
They tried to, right? They kept mentioning the estrogen bath. I can only bring back women. I can only, they tried to do it, but
they do keep sort of hinting towards that, right? Yeah. And I do like that it ends up becoming an empowerment thing, right? Maybe the movie could have. I feel like the movie so does not care about that question till the end of like, should he be doing this in the first place? Right?
No, I agree. It doesn't really entertain that question earlier.
No one ever to push back to him like, hey, maybe she doesn't want to come back.
I think it's good as a goofy, dumb, fun movie that shows off a great comedic performance by an actress. It has some very fun improvisational lines that I absolutely love. When all the hookers are trying to get at the crack, and they're all starting to get crazy. One of his lines is, No, not the devil's music.
Oh, yes, I did.
They turn on the radio and that's like, oh my
Like,
gosh.
that is the least of your worries in this.
Yeah.
The difference.
I feel like, Tripp, you will be upset if you don't at least mention this, because I knew that this would be an exciting thing for you, is who his mom is.
Oh, yeah,
Which-
his mom definitely is played by Louise Lasser, Mary Hartman, which was a huge show in the 70s. But of course, is the first Mrs. Woody Allen.
Right.
They were married in the late 60s and was in a whole bunch of his movies.
Oh my God, she's in my favorite one by him, Bananas.
Yes. Oh yeah, she is. So no, I was very excited to see her, and Shirley Stoller, who is the lead of The Honeymoon Killers, if you've ever seen that.
Oh yeah.
The late 60s sort of real revolutionary film.
Well, I feel as though I've learned two very important things in this conversation. One, I have learned that if I am ever run over by a lawnmower, you can absolutely feel free to put my head on Patty Mullen's body. I will just figure out how to deal with that. And the second thing that I have learned is that Frankenhooker is Tripp Burton's new favorite movie. No questions. I think we can just move on from there.
Nailed it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Before we begin, I should point out that this list feels almost unjust given the film we're reviewing today. Frankenhooker might actually be the world's most literal bad boyfriend movie. What with Jeffrey Franken saving his girlfriend's head so he can mount it onto a body comprised of hooker parts. So doing girlfriends instead is like blaming the cat for the half-eaten shoe you find by the dog bed.
Right.
But rules are rules. So here we go. We've agreed on an order. Tripp, you're the guest of honor here.
Okay.
Right? You're the guest on your show, I feel like, all the time.
Yeah.
So now you're the guest on our show as well here. So with that, what is your number 5 of your bottom 5 bad girlfriends?
Yeah, my number 5 might not be like the 5th worst, but it is one that always really bothers me. And it's a movie we've talked about on our podcast. It's a movie I love, but I had the same gripe when we talked about it. And it is Pam Bynes, who is Terry Polo in Meet the Parents. Because I really feel like 50% of the problems that poor Greg goes through in that movie is because she has not just done her job as a partner in that relationship, right? She doesn't, I got it. She cannot tell him that her dad is a secret agent, right? But she could at least prepare him for like, hey, here are some things to do and not to do. Hey, we are going to go to my ex-boyfriend's house and play pool volleyball. Maybe you want to bring a swimsuit with you on this trip. Or, hey, mom and dad, he's a nurse, don't make fun of him. Or to me, the one that really bothers me is when he wakes up and everyone has just finished breakfast and they all like tease him for like, oh, look at the sleepyhead. Like, no, go in there and wake him up and be like, hey, so you know, my family all gets up at 7 o'clock in the morning and eats breakfast. You might want to also. Like, I just feel like, look, she's a lovely person. I haven't seen the sequels. I'm sure they have wonderful relationship in the future. But just when you're taking your boyfriend home for the first time, you have to prepare him and be on his side for what's going on.
What's the matter? You can't sleep?
No, I'm just going over some of my answers from the polygraph test your dad just gave me.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Yeah, he did.
Well, did you lie to him?
No. I mean, well, he asked me if we were living together, and
What'd you tell him?
nothing. Your mother walked in and I yanked the little thingies off before I had to answer. Is this how you'd react if I told you that he shoved bamboo shoots up my fingernails, huh? Or does he hook all your boyfriends up to his little machine?
Well, he doesn't need a machine. He's a human lie detector.
What?
Greg, my father was never in the rare flower business. That was just his cover. He was in the CIA for 34 years.
How could you not tell me this?
That movie is so incredibly uncomfortable for me to watch because I am so empathetic a person that the vicarious embarrassment causes me angst. It causes me so much that I can't enjoy the movie.
I watch it as a horror movie almost. Like, yes.
It is. And you are so right. And it was sitting there right in front of me when I was watching it. It occurred to me more than once that this was all avoidable.
Yeah.
But it never occurred to me that, she's the one that could have fixed all of this. Oh my God, what a great pick. Thank you. Wow. I'm blown away. That's it. Mike, you found your new co-host. I'm out.
Oh no, please no. I watch enough bad movies.
If you think this one is bad, trust me, the 1992 version, the original one, you want to talk about deeply uncomfortable stuff and the universe coming against somebody. The original Meet the Parents is like dark and so much even more uncomfortable than what we got from Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro.
All right. Well, I believe next in our order is going to be you, Mike, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
right. My number 5, Jay, would almost certainly be my number 1 if I weren't so absolutely certain that it's going to appear somewhere on your list. Right?
Okay.
I am. If it doesn't appear on your list, either you left it off for this exact reason, or you're not nearly the guy I thought you were.
Oh.
Because my number 5 is absolutely Sharon Stone in 1992's Basic Instinct. Right? Catherine Trammell. Right? We'll see. We'll see. But it's at my number 5 because I am so certain that it is going to appear somewhere on your list, unless you left it off because you knew I'd call it out.
Is she a bad girlfriend because she kills her boyfriend at the beginning of the film, or is she a bad girlfriend to Michael Douglas's character?
The answer is yes to both of them.
Yes.
Right.
She's also a bad girlfriend to her lover, the lady lover that she
That's
has
correct.
as well.
Yeah,
if I'm not
right.
mistaken.
She's a crime
taunting and sort of
right. A crime novelist suspected of murder who seduces Michael Douglas's Nick Curran detective character into a dangerous affair, right? Compromises his judgment, his integrity, generally screws with his head in one of the all-time great psychological thriller performances by Sharon Stone, right? She lies, she murders, she plays mind games that threaten his career and his sanity. She weaponizes sex itself, making Michael Douglas both absolutely obsessed with her and entirely screwed. Just entirely screwed. You'll discover as we go that my list seems to be hyper focused on girlfriends who want you dead. I should probably talk with a therapist about what is behind that. I'm not sure, but fair is fair. So my number 1 defaults to my number 5 because it's Sharon Stone in one of the steamiest 90s movies of all time. Don't worry. I'm certain that Jason will tell you more about it later on.
Definitely a good one right there.
Yeah.
Oof.
Mhm.
So I had to kind of eliminate, since we said girlfriends, I had to eliminate anybody who's a wife, so that eliminated certain very obvious candidates.
Right.
Yes.
Sorry to Amy Dunn, I guess, once again.
Right.
She is
Gone Girl,
she is
right?
married to Nick from the beginning.
Correct.
So, and there were certain people who got married later, but this was my number 5 pick because she doesn't appear much in the movie, but the lasting impact that she has throughout the whole film, and that is Fiona, who is played by Kristen Kruk at the beginning of Euro Trip. You want to talk about a terrible way to find out as a boyfriend that your girlfriend is cheating on you. It is at a party where she reveals she is cheating on him with the lead singer of a band who is played by Matt Damon, who they have written an entire song about how they've cheated on you and you do not know, that then becomes an international pop sensation.
Scotty doesn't know that Fiona and me do it in my van every Sunday. She tells him she's in church, but she doesn't go. Still she's on her knees, and Scotty doesn't know. Oh, Scotty doesn't know. So don't tell Scotty. Scotty doesn't know.
There is no other worse ways to find out all of that information, and it's one of a movie that Tripp seasons later we will talk about.
I have not seen Euro Trip.
I have not either.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
It's a great
but it's
pick.
That's really good.
I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, just a terrible way to find out it. But she's number 5 because it is she's only in the beginning of the movie and then is gone, basically. But yeah.
At least she wasn't cheating with Tom Green. That would have been beyond it,
right?
Beyond it. Yeah, at least it was Matt Damon.
It's fine. It's okay. In a very unique costume choices for Matt Damon in that movie. Oof. Absolutely.
Oh my God. Well, my number 5, I'm going to go with one that I think a lot of people really, really love. A lady that I think there's a lot of heterosexual males, a lot of gay ladies out there who would say that Ramona Flowers from Scott Pilgrim versus the World is just pure hotness. Now, on paper, Ramona is this dream girl I'm talking about. She's mysterious. She's got the multicolored hair, the rollerblades. But in practice, she's a romantic landmine. Scott, played by Michael Cera, must battle her 7 evil exes to date her, only to find she's emotionally unavailable and endlessly evasive. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she played the ever enigmatic Ramona Flowers. She views Ramona as someone who's figuring herself out rather than her being manipulative. But if you take it from Scott's POV, she's the girlfriend equivalent of a video game boss fight that leaves you wondering if the prize was worth it. So that is my number 5, Ramona Flowers, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Bold move, Scott, and I like it.
Scott Pilgrim also could be under the worst boyfriends.
He's awful.
He's absolutely awful. Like maturity is realized.
He battles all these people. He gets the shit kicked out of him, and he kills people and turns them into coins, and all this crazy shit happens, right? Only to get to the end and realize this shit is not worth it. This is just so not worth it.
It's not going to work.
That's crap. It's bad on him too. I totally agree with you. It is, but she's rough, man. Come on.
It will be interesting as we go to see how many of these bottom 5 girlfriends are connected with bottom 5 boyfriends, right? I think that's
for sure. Yeah. I mean, Michael Douglas in Basic Instinct.
And Michael Douglas in anything he did in the 90s.
Yeah, Michael Douglas in anything, yeah.
So for my number 4, it wouldn't be me if I didn't bring the French art house film to Filmjitsu.
Yes. Here it is. Thank goodness.
This is Anna Barton from the film Damage, as played by Juliette Binoche. So this is it's an English language film, but it was made in France. It's a Louis Malle film. She is dating a guy. He brings her home. His dad is played by Jeremy Irons, and she starts an affair with her boyfriend's dad. This being a French Louis Malle film, they have long sex scenes of the kind that you watch and you think, I didn't know bodies could do that, or that things fit together in that way. And then it just keeps escalating to the point that, like, he comes over for dinner and they get the son out of the house so they can have sex. They have sex in the room next to the son. She gets engaged and married to the son while keeping the affair, to be topped by the line that she gives.
Do you think I would have married Martin if I couldn't be with you?
Ouch.
Anyone whose, girlfriend sleeps with their dad is not a great girlfriend. So
fair.
That's unbelievable as far as picks go. Jeremy Irons, man, kind of like under the radar, rather pervy.
Yes,
right.
I think
like,
so, yeah.
like he's like the art house perv guy.
Upper class perv of the year.
Yeah, totally. Like, I am an intellectual. I'm very British. I'm very put together. But by the way, I will totally do wacky shit in a movie with a lady. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, my number 4, also maybe a little more highbrow than you might expect from me. I'm going with Sally Bowles, played by Liza Minnelli in the classic Bob Fosse musical Cabaret from 1972.
Okay.
Sally Bowles, she's the protagonist of the film. She's magnetic, she's intoxicating, she's irresistible, which makes her all that much more of a problem for her stuffy new boyfriend, Brian, played by Michael York in the film. But Sally Bowles is a total shit show. She chases this bohemian lifestyle for no regard for the emotional wreckage that she is leaving behind her, hooking up with wealthy Max, pulling Brian close and pushing him away, letting him fall in love with no real intent to ever love him back. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't want this to fall into some sort of like patriarchy thing, right? Like, Sally has every right to live the life that she chooses. and to do with herself and her body and her heart what she wants to do, right? Very specifically, I am not calling out, one of the things, she has an abortion in the film, doesn't tell Brian. That's fine. That's not an issue for me here. Like that, whatever. But basically, like, Sally is kind of the embodiment of 1930s Berlin, right? It's this city that has this dazzling nightlife and this sparkling outer exterior. Meanwhile, it is crumbling with chaos beneath the surface. Maybe that's thinking way too deeply about it. I don't know, but I'm willing to say that Sally Bowles is enough of a disaster as a girlfriend for poor Brian in this movie that she makes it at the number 4 spot on my list.
The central thing of that relationship is just how incompatible they are, right?
Yeah.
And how she just does sort of keep leeching onto him. I mean, she just shows up and moves in without ever being invited, right, at the first place. So I think that's as the music theater like historian of the group, I'm ashamed not to have even thought of that. But I will approve of that one, Mike.
What I was trying to do here, Tripp, knowing you were going to be on here, is I thought, like, I'm going to put Sally Bowles up on this tee and then let Tripp just say smarter things than I ever could and just see where it happens. So
I was very impressed with your read of Cabaret.
I was kind of counting on you for that, actually.
Classing up the joint. Man. Wow.
I guess that leaves me then to, maybe bring us down a bit. I don't know. That's, I guess, my thing with what I would consider. We could quibble, I guess, whether this is a qualified entry here. But at number 4, I am going with Christine from John Carpenter's Christine.
Oh, that's great. It's great. Yeah.
Killer
It's
car.
a great choice.
What?
Yeah.
For people who have not seen John Carpenter's Christine or not read the Stephen King novel, Arnie Cunningham basically buys this cursed car that is, he's warned pretty ahead of time, like, hey, there's something weird about this car. Like, you maybe shouldn't, buy it, but he's drawn to it. And this spirit of whatever this car is, basically, as he fixes it up or as it becomes fixed, not only becomes obsessed with protecting Arnie, who is more of a nerdier guy, and starts murdering numerous people, but it also seems to change Arnie. And in a very negative way. He is becoming more aggressive. He is looking a lot more haggard. It is like, this car is like sucking the life
It's
force.
a succubus.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
a succubus.
And
it
in
is.
the sense of any truly bad relationship, this is essentially one partner like changing somebody else in the worst ways and basically so obsessive that it's never going to end well. So while Christine never talks, it is absolutely, I would say, a bad girlfriend.
Jason, I'm just going to turn in my 2-week notice right now because I hate myself for not thinking of that.
This is what happens when we talk to real podcasters. Yeah.
Gosh.
That's so good. That's the kind of outside the box shenanigans that I usually show up with.
Yeah.
And I didn't this time. Well done, Ross. I'm impressed.
Look, I came to your house. I wanted to pay homage to you.
Yep.
That's really what it comes down to.
And he's paying homage to Tripp, and I'm just out here on my own doing my usual literal shit. So I'm just gonna go ahead with my number 4.
If Jason picks Ferris Bueller's Girlfriend, then we all know that we've all just stolen each other's.
Sloane's a great girlfriend, so
Jason
Sloane
loves
is way
Sloane.
too good.
Yeah.
Jason loves Sloane.
Yes, Sloane is way too good for Ferris.
Yep. When we talked about her in, what was it, Time Cop, her sex scenes in Time Cop, Jason took 30 minutes to talk about her sex scenes in Time Cop. That's this isn't me making things up. I have firsthand experience of Jason trying to deal with this.
Listen, pro Mia Sarah. We're all pro Mia Sarah. That's what it comes down to.
Can I move on to my
yes,
number 4?
What is your number 4? Sir?
Absolutely.
All right. In John Schlesinger's paranoid thriller Marathon Man from 1976, Martha Keller plays Elsa Opel, who seems like the perfect cultured European girlfriend for Dustin Hoffman's Babe Levy. Until the truth comes out. Babe's brother Doc, played by, Roy Scheider, in one of his best roles. He exposes Elsa's ties to Nazi war criminal Christian Sell, who's played by Laurence Olivier in the film, but not before she's charmed Babe into bed and lured him straight into the hands of her sadistic bosses. 2 times. She briefly redeems herself by taking a bullet meant for Babe in the final act, but that's after she's essentially served as Zell's concierge of betrayal.
Babe.
What?
I'm sorry. I didn't
Tell
know.
me when they're coming.
Laisse-moi t'expliquer.
What did you do for him? Just tell me, what did you do?
Let me explain.
Explain. Just explain.
Please,
Explain it.
please,
Explain my problem.
Please, I didn't
Say
know.
it. Say it.
Stop it.
You fucking stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Tell me when they're coming.
I don't know, babe. Soon.
The production is famous for Hoffman's method clashes with Olivier. And of course, there's this whole thing where, why don't you just try acting? That Olivier said to Hoffman when he was pulling his method stuff. But Elsa deserves her own notoriety as a girlfriend whose pillow talk comes with a side of war crimes. And so I'm going to go with Elsa Opal at my number 4. I think that's a pretty good choice.
That's a very good choice. Marathon Man, a great movie. Oof.
You think I'm getting a nod of approval from Mike?
Well done.
Tripp?
I mean, sadly, Marathon Man is a blind spot for me, so I can't talk about that. But from your description, and I think probably most any Nazi is a bad girlfriend. So
yeah, you think? I think they had something over her.
I almost had a Nazi girlfriend on my list, and I took her off at the last minute.
This is the only on Filmjitsu you're going to hear. I almost had a Nazi girlfriend on my list.
Nope, not bad enough.
I got to get the dad fucker on here instead. That's
nope.
For my number 3, sort of along the same lines of finding out that your girlfriend is not perhaps what you thought they were, and perhaps does not have the greatest, ethical standing in the world. My number 3 is Eileen Wuornos, Charlize Theron in Monster.
For sure.
What happens if you find out that your girlfriend is a serial killer and she is dragging you out on the run from the law with her? And even at the end, when you turn her in, poor Christina Ricci, she is scarred for life there with a serial killer girlfriend.
Endless drama.
I don't know what else to really say about that, but yes.
No, I mean, just serial killer girlfriend pretty much just
that sums it all
right
up
up.
right there.
Yeah.
So I texted Ross at one point and I said, are we allowed to have real people on this list? And he said, that doesn't seem fair. And I said, yes, but if you're a serial killer, I think I'll let it go. So
yes. Yeah.
She's in a movie.
Let it slide.
Yes.
That's rule.
There we go.
Ross just had a fucking car.
It's that kind of bravery that we need more of in this world.
Yes. Yes.
My number 3, I think, is actually going to require a little choose your own adventure. Just quick show of hands. How many of us have Rose Armitage from Get Out? Okay, great. I'm not going to do Rose. Cool. I'm going to skip that.
Why not? Why don't we all do it right now? Why don't we all talk about it? I think that's the
she's
right
my number
choice.
1 with a bullet. Like it's
okay.
She's my number 2. So
yes.
Okay.
She's my number 2.
Okay.
So let's go ahead. Mike, do it, and then we'll reveal.
You want me to do it? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
100%.
Okay, because I have another one I'm very proud of that variety is the spice of life.
That too.
Okay. So we'll all take a turn here to talk about her at some point. So I won't go too deep into it. She lures her boyfriend into this world where her racist family is going to literally suck his soul and transfer his whole. It's insane. The movie's insane. We could talk about the layers and the social commentary.
They're going to bury his consciousness in his body so that it's barely present,
right? And
then replace him in his mind with the station manager from News Radio.
Yeah, that's
Stephen
right.
Root.
Yeah,
Stephen Root.
Stephen
Right.
Root.
Or as I wrote it down, my girlfriend was using me so her racist parents could harvest my body for their evil high-tech brain slavery operation.
Yes.
There you go.
Those classic,
that is very
classic scenarios.
I mean, it could happen to anybody, really.
Right. Yeah. The old, that boy meets girl.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to add too is that you then find out this is not the first time she has done this.
Yes.
She has been this horrible girlfriend to dozens of other guys.
Right. And actually,
and women
this is
too.
the thing that I think might be interesting to talk about. There are so many things. Once you kind of know what's going on that second watch, there are so many sinister little things that she does. And I think everybody's kind of got their own that kind of chills them in a different way. It might be interesting to talk about that. For me, the thing that gets me is the scene where they are on the way to the parents' house and they're pulled over and the cop is asking for the ID.
Mm-hmm.
And in the moment, you think she's standing up to this racist cop. What I didn't realize until much later is she's making sure there's no record of him having been there.
That's right.
But there are so many of those little things peppered throughout the movie that I'm always curious, like, what are those sinister Rose moments that are kind of the most chilling for everybody?
For me, it's always the key. It's always where are the keys, and then that reveal. I mean, that it doesn't matter whether it's the first time I saw it or the fifth time I've seen it. Every time it gets more sinister when you know that she has the key and she's just hiding it.
First off, kudos to Allison Williams, who I think is
giving
so
good.
Such an unbelievable performance.
Terrific performance.
And the scene I think that is so bone chilling in so many ways for so many people who watch it is even after the reveal. It is her sitting on her bed, eating the dry cereal. And having a glass of milk. The milk is separate from the cereal.
She's a monster.
And her scouring the internet, looking at young, like, black male basketball players for her next target. Yeah. And it is this kind of methodical, it is like a serial killer. It is, she has basically
literal cereal.
Literal cereal. It is truly, this is like one of these lists where it's like we're commenting on the girlfriends, not the movies. And it's like this movie is a true masterpiece.
Yep.
Oh, it is. Oh, yeah.
So this was my number 3, and I had her at my number 3 only because I suspected she would appear all over our list. And I almost thought about keeping her off for that reason, but it's inevitable, right? So I wanted to kind of leave a little bit of room to talk about some other things. I almost in this spot, and I guess I'll just mention it as my cheat, I almost went with Barbara Stanwyck in Double Indemnity in this spot, right? I almost went with that, right? Is like this like the classic femme fatale. She was the other one that kind of occupied my number 3 spot. But I'm
Is
glad
she
we
really
were
a
all on the same
girlfriend?
page.
That was my question.
See, that's the thing that I was so specifically honing in on. Girlfriend.
Yeah, and that's why I went with Rose as kind of my tiebreaker at the end there. I don't know. I think you could make a case that Fred McMurray would have thought she was a girlfriend, even if she wasn't.
It was kind of like I think that's similar to Michael Douglas and Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct. Why, spoiler alert, she's not on my list, Mike.
Whoa.
Because I didn't view her as a girlfriend.
Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the
tough thing with a lot of these noirs is that you could arguably make every like this list could be all femme fatales, right? In every noir movie, but it's always this sticky situation about how you want to define what we were doing as this, kind of project of like, I thought about, who will not appear, but like Kathleen Turner in Body Heat as like, ultimate, like kind of like a bad girlfriend, but are they really dating if she's married to somebody else and he's like,
If you do bottom wives, though, Barbara Stanwyck, not a very good wife to that poor husband.
That's for sure.
True.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. No.
So now that we've all talked about Rose Armitage and we've gotten her out of our system,
I think it's Ross's turn, right?
Ross's turn.
It's Ross's turn.
It is. So at my number 3, I decided to go with Selena Kyle, or Catwoman, as played by Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns. Now, poor Selena Kyle has a very tough run-in with Max Schreck. Doesn't go super well. But obviously, she seems to find some sort of interesting connection with Batman, with Bruce Wayne, with Michael Keaton. However, I would say that an important part of any sort of relationship is being honest and true and, with your partner. And what's a real big problem that's going to hurt your relationship? When one of you is a crime fighter and the other one is a supervillain that is trying to destroy you. And Selena Kyle's usual thing of trying to steal from the wealthy does kind of pose a problem when you are the richest man in Gotham. It is a relationship that is doomed, that is never going to work, despite the fact that they are both outsiders. But in the end, their true identities really are more Batman and Catwoman, which is always the thing of, the Batman mythos, is that Bruce Wayne is really the kind of thing that he puts on because Batman is who he really is. Selena Kyle, by the time she becomes Catwoman, Catwoman is who she wants to be, who is this freer than she always felt. And Selena Kyle is now the costume she puts on. It is never going to work, and it is always going to end poorly for them. So unfortunately, Selena Kyle, as great of a captivating character as she is, not a great girlfriend.
Yeah, it's a shame too, because they had such unbelievably amazing chemistry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would watch a Michael Keaton, Michelle Pfeiffer like romantic comedy or something. Like
I wish that there was, because that kiss that they have on the couch might be my favorite screen kiss. It's at least top 3. It is one of the best screen kisses, and I don't love that movie. I'm not a huge fan of that movie. There's a lot of people who really love Burton's Batman movies, and I'm not really one of them. But that moment between them, all the moments when they're dancing to that Susie and the Banshee song face to face, there is an incredible moment as well. It's such a shame. It's like, oh, this chemistry.
Yeah.
Like,
but at the end, it's like it's never going to work.
I know.
It's always.
You're right.
But yes, you're right.
And what I will say, and I'm speaking on behalf of our entire podcast now, is that while she may be a bottom 5 girlfriend, if you have seen Michelle Pfeiffer in that Catwoman suit, it's totally worth it. It's totally worth it.
Yes, yeah.
Worth it.
You make it so easy, don't you? Always waiting for some bad man to save you. I am Catwoman. Hear me roar.
So my number 3 is Nicole Kidman's Suzanne Stone from 1995's To Die For.
Great pick. Great pick.
She is what happens when ambition comes with a body count. In Gus Van Sant's satirical To Die For, Suzanne's dream is to be a famous TV news personality, and nothing, not even her marriage to Matt Dillon's Larry, is going to derail that. When Larry suggests that she take time off her family life, Suzanne instead turns her flirtation with a high school student named Jimmy, who's Joaquin Phoenix, like as a kid here. She turns it into full-blown seduction, and then, of course, convinces him to kill her husband. So this is kind of like loosely inspired by the Pamela Smart case. And it was scripted by Buck Henry, which is crazy to even think that. The film is a razor-sharp portrait of narcissism and media obsession. Kidman won a Golden Globe for making Suzanne both magnetic and monstrous, the kind of girlfriend who won't just break your heart, but will happily make you a Dateline episode if it means avoiding a career setback. So at my number 3, Suzanne Stone from To Die For.
Heck yeah.
It's such a good pick. This was on my list up until actually this morning. It's such a good pick, Jay.
Oh, man.
I love that movie.
It's a good one.
It's so good.
I don't like Gus Van Sant.
He doesn't. I kind of don't either.
I'm not a big fan. Elephant might be one of the most offensive. It's way worse than Psycho. It is probably one of the most infuriating films I've ever seen. It's the most dispassionate and heartless portrayals of teenagers I've ever seen. And it just, what a dick.
It might be the one movie that I know Jason hates that I won't ever make him watch for our show.
That's a real tough hang of a movie to force on anybody.
That might be, we found my line.
But I do love Buck Henry. So, Buck Henry.
Yeah, right.
Well,
so,
yes.
Buck Henry for he's a great writer. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so my number 1, and I feel a little bad about this one because this is not a bad person. This is actually a very good person. But I really had to think, what's worse than dating a serial killer? What's worse than dating someone who's just using you to kill you? And I think the worst girlfriend in movie history is Mido, as played by Kang Yae-jung in Oldboy. Because I think the worst girlfriend is finding out that your girlfriend is actually your daughter. And I think that could be about sorry, spoiler alert if I just spoiled Oldboy for anybody. But and you think of that scene where he makes him watch the video after he finds out that she's his daughter. And it doesn't get any worse than that, I think.
God, what a brilliant choice.
That was my reaction.
Because it was a really good relationship, it seemed like. But yes, I think dating your daughter is even worse than dating someone trying to kill you. So that's my number 1 is Oldboy.
Oh, man.
Well done, sir.
I mean, you could put Incendies in there of this, right?
I guess, too. I could. Yeah. I've never seen the Spike Lee version of Oldboy, so I had to go back to the, original.
Yeah, you go to the original, but
definitely.
yeah.
Yes, I feel like I've just like ended the podcast. Like no one has anything to say after that. Just like you do when you're watching the movie, right? It's just like, oh boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
oh boy.
well, that brings us to my number 2, which is going to be a very different vibe than Old Boy. But also, Tripp, a little while ago, you gave us some pretty good homespun wisdom, which is that any serial killer is a bad girlfriend. Mm-hmm. That's true. I'm going to lighten it up a little bit here, though. My number 2, I'm going with Debbie Jelinski, played by Joan Cusack in Addams Family Values from 1993.
Yes. Oh, she was such a dick.
Yes, she was such a dick.
Almost on my list, too.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, just Joan Cusack plays this character brilliantly, like bringing Debbie to life as this like gleefully wicked femme fatale and just a total dick, which like Jason says, right? She's engaged to marry Uncle Fester under false pretenses, and immediately she launches into this series of murderous schemes to claim his family fortune. She isolates Fester from his family. She says she's a virgin who's saving herself for their wedding night, but also is hiring hitmen to murder him, to blow him up, she tries to throw a boombox in the bathtub, which is like the most 90s way to kill somebody I can think of. She's just so good in the role, right? And when your girlfriend is literally a Black Widow serial killer who is actively trying to murder you, that's a bottom 5 girlfriend, which is why Debbie is my number 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a really good choice. I wish I thought of that one because that's one that really fits this list. The duplicitous nature of it, right? Like and you really come to hate her. She is a good villain.
Yeah, Yep. Yeah. Because she doesn't hide it. That's the thing that's so cool about the way that Cusack plays the villain in that role is like, she's not trying to hide it from anybody. She's just openly being an asshole the whole time. And it's like, and Fester. And Fester is the only one who can't see it for what it is.
Everyone in that movie, and the first one too, is so good. But the Joan Cusack and Christopher Lloyd chemistry, is just so
the comedy chemistry
good. Yeah, the comedy chemistry is so good. I did think about it too, but it was like, no. But I'm so glad it ends up here either way. Yeah. My number 2. So as part of our podcast, we have had to watch a lot of movies that have many bad girlfriends. It's a very big comedy trope to just throw in a bad girlfriend and everything in there. So I figured I'd highlight an actress who I really love, but unfortunately is a terrible girlfriend. And that is Judith, who is played by Amanda Peet in Saving Silverman.
I mean, absolutely right. She was almost on my list. I took her off because I figured someone else was going to mention her.
It is for people who have not seen the 2001 Dennis Dugan directed film.
Duke strikes again.
Dukes does strike again. Jason Biggs plays Darren. He's a down on his luck guy who can't seem to, find a girlfriend, but he's very romantic. And he ends up kind of meeting at a bar this woman, Judith, who's played by Amanda Peet, and she proceeds to basically take over his life, control it in so many ways, get him away from his 2 best friends who are played by Steve Zahn and Jack Black. And truly, there is a level of also watching this movie where you do wonder why. Like, why does Judith want to be in this relationship? Like, we just talked about, like, Joan Cusack in Addams Family Values. You get why she's doing what she's doing. She wants the money. What Judith wants in this movie just seems to be control somebody. Like, there's no other, interest or anything. She is solely interested in basically controlling and destroying whoever it is that she is dating, that man's life.
She's very similar to Christine. I'm seeing a theme with your picks here.
Sucking everything.
Sucking the life out of people.
And just like absolutely.
Mike's worried about being murdered and you're worried about having your life sucked out of you and being controlled.
Who hurt you, Ross?
I don't want you to see Wayne or JD ever again, Darren.
But they're my best friends.
You're getting new friends, and you're quitting that bullshit band.
I know you're upset. I do, but I'm not dropping Wayne and JD, and I'm not quitting the band.
Okay, fine. No more sex.
What?
You're not allowed to go down on me for 1 month.
No, Judith,
Don't
please.
make me take away your masturbation privileges.
Well, I guess I'm doing my number one. So I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. Florence Pugh gives one hell of a performance in Ari Aster's Midsummer.
Oh.
From 2019.
Okay.
The movie itself is a pastel daylight nightmare. And her performance in this and that character has been canonized by a corner of the internet as a flower-crowned Avenger.
Mm-hmm.
But strip away the aesthetic, and what you've got is one half of a mutually toxic relationship, with emphasis on toxic. Danny is emotionally fragile, having endured a horrific family tragedy, but her boyfriend Christian, played by Jack Rayner, sticks around less out of love than paralyzing guilt. He's a coward, right?
Mhm.
Sure. But she's no picture of healthy coping mechanisms either. So when their ill-timed Swedish getaway lands them in the clutches of a cheery death cult, Christian is drugged, seduced, and then publicly humiliated in a ritual sex act, which Danny witnesses with a mix of horror and, I'm going to say, cathartic curiosity.
Mm.
Rather than ghosting the guy and booking therapy, she does what any rational person would do. She has him sewn into a bear carcass and set on fire, all while beaming like she just got the world's best spa treatment. People call it empowerment. I call it a breakup strategy that could have been handled with a Post-it note and zero arson.
Mm.
So I cannot stand the people that say that she is a heroine. And I would love it for someone to get into it with me on this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of the same way. Like, her boyfriend he's douchey, no doubt. But that doesn't mean you got to light a guy on fire in a bear suit, like, for crying out loud. Like, what are we, there has
and we got to celebrate it because if you think about it, and this is my problem with it, right? I agree with people who say that he's a coward for sure. He should have just never brought her on the trip, right?
Mm-hmm.
He should have just broke up with her, cut his losses, but he would have been an asshole for doing it.
Yeah.
He would have been a real prick for dropping her, even though he wanted to, even though their relationship wasn't great. When that tragedy hit, she needed a support system and he was there for it. He might not have been the best support system, but he was available. So then what happens? Well, he can't break up with her, and then he can't break up with her, and then he can't. It's like a series of bad times until they get out to this place and some weird shit goes on, right? Some weird shit that he's not entirely in control of. And then any transgression, that's it. You die, you get sewn into the bear suit and lit on fire. I just don't understand why people celebrate that ending. It really bugs the shit out of me.
So I think where I would quibble with some of and I love this movie. I think I'm with you 100.
I
oh,
don't.
Interesting. I love this movie. I think the interesting thing is, so first off, I think somebody's dying either way. To say that it is her choice that it ends up being Jack Rayner, correct?
I don't mind that someone's going to die. I don't mind that. I mind the celebration that has happened, right? I'm not even her celebration. The celebration around the movie and this ending, where it's like this women's empowerment statement. And that's where my issue. I don't have a problem with the movie per se.
Yeah.
Mike does this a lot with movies where he's talking about the culture that builds up around a film, right? That bugs the shit out of him. One of the things that he can't stand is when people talk about 28 Days Later and they say it's not a zombie movie. It sets him off. Another one is when people talk about how great Scarface is because it's like filled with machismo. It's a fucking awful movie. I'm sorry. It just is. But
it's fun.
But it's not fun.
No. But I'm more with you than I'm with that it's a great movie.
But Midsummer, which I don't dislike Midsummer as a film. I shouldn't say that. It's the pocket of celebration that comes out of that ending. And it's like, good, he got his. And I'm like, man, really?
It's not even just that he's a bad boyfriend, because he is. I think it's that he seems to, which is I think the smart thing that Ari Aster tries to do with this movie with him is that it's not just how he treats Florence Pugh. It's then like how he treats his own friends, that he's stealing, very clearly stealing the thesis thing that William Jackson Harper is like going to do. It is a constant thing of the male friends in this movie, that they are terrible, and they're terrible about how they interact with each other, how they talk about other people. So to your point, I think that part gets the most thing, right? It's that he is a bad boyfriend to Florence Pugh, and everyone loves Florence Pugh.
I felt like that whole thing with his friends was an add-on because Astor knew where he was going to go with the film, and he's like, I got to make this guy a lot less likable. He's got to be more of a douchebag.
I always view the ending not as the like, oh, good, he got his. I think it's one of these weird things where finally this woman who, and you mentioned it earlier, right? This is a woman who needs deep therapy and a community and a group of people who are going to care and love for this
and apparently
person.
have an orgasm together with her all at once too.
Yeah. But like the idea of this community, which is part of then what it is like this idea of this communal grief, right? It is that that whole breathing exercism, wailing out there. But this idea that this community is going to be there for her, and that she is finally now going to be in some semblance. Now, again, whether it's healthy, even healthy, that's it. But there's this idea that she is now suddenly in this place of, to some extent, some communal care and love. And I think that to me is more of the ending than it is the like celebration of Jack Reynor as like he deserves to die. It's more of, this is the final nail in the coffin in this old life that she had, and she is now moving on.
She's justified their way of life too.
Yes.
Like she is the totem of it, which is why she's the May Queen, right? Because she justifies all that ritual. She justifies all of the crazy bullshit that we've seen that goes throughout the thing. At the end, she embodies that. And part of it is burning her fucking boyfriend. But hey, anyway, I see it as a bad situation all around. But she's an awful girlfriend. I mean, that's a situation where there's no winning. So.
Call me old fashioned. I think maybe the bar for lighting somebody on fire in a bear suit should be a little bit higher than, well, he's a bad boyfriend. Like, okay, maybe he was. So like, maybe you key his car, maybe you throw his phone in the lake. I don't know. But like, lit on fire in a bear suit? I don't know.
But again, I think that Ross and I got down to something. This is the best conversation I've ever had about this movie, because there's a lot of things that I like about it and there's a lot of things I don't like about it, but hearing your take on it has made me realize that there's a way to look at this in a much more healthy and very disturbing way, right?
Yes.
Like there's a much way, and I can separate now from the cheering voices that give it a superficial pat on the back as a women's empowerment thing. And I can say, no. I get it now. It's this. It's not that. You have your fun, right? But I think I personally think you're all Allison Williams eating dry cereal and drinking a glass of milk.
Did we actually arrive at a genuine, I hear what you're saying, but you're completely wrong moment? That's amazing. Look at you. That's unbelievable. That's amazing.
We agreed. It's like there wasn't like
this is what, but that's what I'm saying.
On it, I agreed with him.
No, you're like you completely heard him in that moment. That's amazing. See, that's why I had these guys on the show, because they're definitely smarter than I am. So you and I could not have had
done that. I just call you a pig fucker and move on. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's it. Right. It's my turn here for my number one, I believe. And you guys might not have considered this character a girlfriend. I did. It might be kind of the classic of all classics and obvious, but what's right is right. I'm going with the Oscar-nominated performance of Mrs. Robinson by Anne Bancroft in The Graduate.
I did think about it. I thought about it.
Yeah, it's not a girlfriend, really.
Yeah.
And again, I think from Benjamin's perspective, she is. And I think that's what it is. Is like she seduces this much younger Benjamin Braddock into an affair. And it's manipulative, but it's just as destructive as it is taboo. She exploits his youth and his loneliness with this, the allure and power of her experience. And she sort of like pulls Benjamin into this emotional spider web that he can't get out of. Sure, like she herself, like Mrs. Robinson, is trapped in this unfulfilling marriage, and she's expressing her own dissatisfaction in a repressive society, right? That's a big part of what makes this film interesting in 1967 for sure. It doesn't excuse that she is just like heartlessly taking Benjamin down with the ship in the process. And in case I didn't mention it, Benjamin is also dating her daughter, right? Right.
Yeah. Shades of damage.
Yeah, and if the genders were reversed here, right, there'd be no doubt about it. There would be no doubt about it, which is part of what makes The Graduate such a great transgressive film. Come to think of it, I think if the genders were reversed here, it would be a Woody Allen film, right? So either way, for me, Mrs. Robinson is my number one, with kind of the caveat that Rose is definitely everybody's number one, and that I totally thought Sharon Stone was going to be on Santa's list.
Well, Tripp, Ross, thank you so much for joining Filmjitsu on a trip through comedy here.
Ooh.
It was a lot of fun talking about Frankenhooker and talking about our bottom 5 girlfriends and how we shared one, which is very interesting. I'm sure there's a lot to read into that. I'd love to know, where can our listeners find you on the internet?
You can find the show at ATTC Pod, or you can search for A Tripp Through Comedy. Remember, Tripp has 2 Ps. You can find it wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any way that you listen to your podcasts, that's where to find it.
And do you have socials, guys?
Oh, yeah. I guess I'm at R Bratin on Blue Sky or on Letterboxd, or you can follow at CFF Films, and you can see more recent movie reviews from me and several people here in New York City.
Yeah, I'm Tripp Burton 13 on Letterboxd and on Blue Sky pretty much these days.
Great.
That's it.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thank you both very much for
Well,
joining
thank you so much
Mike
for having
and
us
I.
on. This was a blast.
This is an honor and a privilege.
Yes,
I'm sure.
Seriously, as a person who listens to your podcast and greatly enjoys it, to be able to come on here and kind of, play along with all this shenanigans is so much fun and very enjoyable.
Thank you for not torturing us too much, Mike.
Well, speaking of torturing everybody, there is one last bit of business we do want to cover here on the show that Jason and I didn't prepare you for, but here it is. It's only fair on Filmjitsu is we're giving the back and forth. What we'd like to do is we're not going to have you give us a film for our upcoming episode, but we would like to have A Tripp Through Comedy give Filmjitsu a movie that's going to make it onto our short list for a future episode. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you guys, what is the worst film that you guys have seen so far in A Tripp Through Comedy that you would think Jason and I should do a Filmjitsu episode on?
Love Stinks.
Right away. Wow.
Our 2 punching bags are always Love Stinks or Whipped. Those are the two worst, I think, that we have watched. So, Whipped, I would almost say Whipped, just because it is bad and it is offensive and it is poorly made.
It is so poorly made.
It is sort of the full bag of you don't understand why or how this movie got made at all.
Yeah, but it is only like 70 to 80 minutes. Like, it's a short movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love Stinks is like 90 to 100 minutes.
Yeah.
And it is like so mean. And oddly enough, I believe, if I remember correctly, brought to you by the guy who created Full House.
It is.
And
yes,
stars
it's his.
French Stewart in one of the few lead French Stewart roles.
In a love affair with Brigitte Wilson Sampras, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jesus, I can't. We're going to do Whipped.
These are already like, this is not good.
You've talked it through. Final answer, guys. What's it going to be? Which one goes on the short list?
I mean, Tripp, you want to go Whipped? I'll defer to you.
We're going to go Whipped, I think.
All right.
Okay.
Whipped is something to be seen. So.
Oh, well, God, French Stewart.
Keep your ears peeled for later on. We'll have to figure out afterwards what a bottom 5 is going to be for that movie. I don't know.
Oh boy.
But thank you guys so much for being on the show. It's been a blast. I hope everybody will come back and join us next time. But until then, we have been your hosts. I am Mike.
And I am Jay.
And we'll see you next time.
Stalno mislim na te, hoću znat sve kate, vježbat ću sate i sate. Karate, vježbat ću dok zadnji mi kjaj zostane izađe.
Tripp is one of genuinely, Jason, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. So I would never want to do anything that would make Tripp have a bad time.
This explains a lot why you give me movies like Thumb Wars to watch.
Right, yeah.
Go fuck yourself, Marigan.
Tripp,
all right.